Wow, what an audience. Great stuff. Wow, what an audience. Apparently the radio waves were buzzing around the place. Has anybody got a ticket for the Kelman event? The answer, of course, was no, because it's been sold out for ages. Great to see you all. Thanks very much for coming along in such goodly numbers. My name's Brian Taylor, and the day job, I'm the political editor of BBC Scotland, but for August I revert to my first passion, my first love, literature and the arts, and of course delighted to welcome to this event tonight a giant of literature, a huge figure in the arts. He has, of course, a back catalogue of powerful, evocative literary work, but his latest novel, I've got the proof copy here, James has got the full thing, latest novel, Dirt Road, is just simply outstanding. It's a brilliant narrative, a damn fine tale, a really intriguing story with brilliant characterization as well, and issues explored of parenthood, of family, of connections, of loneliness, of race, and of passion versus pragmatism, but told in a simply outstanding way. Well, you know all that sort of thing, don't you? But time for questions afterwards. But first, friends, will you join me in giving a very warm welcome to James Kelman, please?
Okay, thanks. What my intentions are is to read. I'll read a section that will give a decent introduction to the novel, and afterwards, obviously, I'll return, and Brian will open up talking or giving some questions and so on to me, and you also. Remembering that I'm kind of hard of hearing, so you're going to have to shout. Now, the novel is about a young guy, Murdo and his dad, who travelled to the States. The basic story is that the father, Tom, we'll call him Tom, Tom's wife, Murdo's mum, she's died a few months earlier. And this is 5 years after Murdo's sister, Tom's daughter, died also, and it's a cancer hereditary through the female line. And Tom and his son Murdo haven't really got over this at all. Well, who could get over it? And he has this uncle, the dad's uncle, Uncle John, who lives in Alabama. He's been gone for about 35 years or nearly 40 years. And he invites Tom and Murdo to come for a couple of weeks over to visit in Alabama, and that's where they go. The novel begins with the two of them walking down. They're living somewhere, I've not been specific, but in mind I was always thinking maybe of around Cowell. It could have been Dunoon, it could have been Arran, it could have been Rothsay, it could have been Millport, but where it requires a ferry to get to Greenock or Gourock, around that area is where I was thinking of. Now, the character Murdo is also, I should say, he's a musician. His main instrument is accordion, and he's a proper musician in the sense that he's been playing since he was about 9 or 10, and he plays in a couple of bands, but he's not really picked up an accordion seriously since his mum died. And anyway, and the relationship between him and his father is obviously quite tricky, and in a sense it's a typical teenage and parent relationship that he always kind of assumes, that his father's been far too strict over petty details, and of course the father always thinks that he needs to be told, otherwise he'll make these kind of foolish errors, or he'll take risks, and so on. And of course that's precisely what happens. Tom makes a mistake when they fly into Mississippi because he takes the wrong damn bus. Rather, they fly into Memphis, Tennessee, and he takes a bus and ends up in Mississippi. This is a mistake because Tom's a kind of grumpy old guy. Well, he's not his old. I'm a grumpy old guy, he's a grumpy young guy. He's probably only about 45, Anyway, they take the wrong bus and end up in Mississippi. And they end up in this town, down on Highway 61, so people who know the shapes of music would realise, well, that's a great blues area. If you're on Highway 61, you would expect to be meeting up with people who would know about Robert Johnson, Son, Muddy Waters. That is not quite the case of what happens in the novel. But while they're in this little town in Mississippi, Murdo gets sidetracked. He leaves the bus station through a kind of accident, and he wanders across the main street because he sees this sign. It's his first time in the States, and he sees an old kind of American antique shop across the road with wagon wheels and so on. So he goes across, there's a pawn shop next door, so he spends his time looking in the windows, and he sees instruments, and he sees tomahawks and six shooters, everything. So, I mean, who wouldn't stand there for too long? And then he sees the bus coming out, he missed the damn bus. So he's got to go back to the bus station. Dad, I'm so sorry. And anyway, his dad responds, and as you would perhaps expect a dad to respond. But the thing with Murdo is he's not a kid. As he continually reminds his father, he's not 16, he's coming up for 17. I'm coming up for 17, Dad. I could be married a year ago. You could be a grandfather. You know, so anyway, they have to go to this little motel overnight. And 9 o'clock at night, Dad's so tired, he just lies in the bed in this kind of place. It's a kind of, not a cheap motel as such, but it's not high end, put it that way. So the boy goes out to this store because the two of them are starving, but at least Murdo's got the gumption to say, Dad, I'm going to that shop, it's opened, it's 9 o'clock at night, we'll get some cheese and bread, and we'll get, so, okay, his dad gives him $25 or something, and Murdo sets off intrepid, and he gets into the store, and I'm going to pick it up about that bit from here. And he's looked around, and he's noticed that the girl, the cashier, is a girl not too much off his own age. The girl's name was Sarah. The tab on her blouse said it, an old-fashioned kind of name. Murdo gazed at the floor, not to look at her, and then away towards the door. Really, she was beautiful. A girl's bare shoulders always looked good, but hers really, really did. And just a beautiful face. That's what you would say. A smooth face like you get with lasses, and her hair pulled back. So it was like her forehead was really smooth too. And how her neck went. And then her boobs too, like her cleavage. She was just really good looking. Then it was his turn, and she ignored him. She didn't even look at him. Although he was a customer, and she was a server, it was up to him. He was to talk. That was wrong, definitely. And he was blushing again. She lifted the grocery stuff out of his basket, scanning it through the machine, and then he noticed the prices on the screen. They were different to the labels. Everything was dearer, every single thing. Murdo wanted to see the total. It was way more than it should have been. She didn't say a word, not looking at him, just waiting for the money. Except he didn't have enough. It's too dear, he said. It's charging too much. Huh? Your machine is charging too much. She frowned, not understanding him. He lifted the first thing to show her, a packet of cheese. It dropped out his hand. She picked it up. He pointed at the price on the label. It says $4.49, but the machine charged more. I watched it. The same with everything. Your machine charged more. It's just like every single thing that added on money. She stared at him. Oh, you're talking about tax, she said. You got tax in these things. Tax? Each one you got there has got the price and it's tax on top. Is that what you're talking about, tax? The girl held out her hand for the money. You'll see it on the receipt. It totaled more than $30. He didn't have enough. He showed her the 25. You'll need to take stuff out. Huh? Murdo passed her the lettuce and the yogurt. Does that make it? She started packing the food into a brown paper bag, placed 2 tins in a tray behind her. To the side of the cash register was a basket of loose bananas. She did a new cash total and gave him the receipt. He was waiting to see the change. A little more than $1 in coins. How much for bananas, he said. Can I get 2? Pardon me? Murdo held out the change to her. Can I get 2 bananas, please? She packed in the bananas beneath the rest of the food and pushed the full paper bag across. She watched him lift it. Where are you from? Scotland. Scotland? Yeah. He held the brown paper bag close to his chest and exited the shop up along the street and the main road. And he started smiling because it was good. He felt that. Just everything. America. He liked it. It was different. Had she even heard of Scotland? Maybe she hadn't. Strange to think. America. An American girl. Imagine. She smiled at him. Maybe she did. She could have. Murdo would have liked it here. Mum would have liked it. Everything. Everything away from the old. Fresh air and breathing. Fresh breathing. Everything. Murdo felt that strongly. He didn't care about stuff. School and the rest of it. They would all wonder where he was. Ha ha, here. Thousands of miles away. It was great. Just bloody great. And he walked fast. Food to eat. Dad too. Dad must have been hungry. It was dark by now. He remembered the toilet rolls. In the motel reception office, the guy was on a computer. He had a wee pile of books beside him. He must have been a student. Murdo said, "We don't have any toilet rolls." Huh? I mean like toilet rolls. You need toilet rolls, huh? Well, we don't have any. The guy turned and opened a cupboard door and he withdrew and gave them to him. "And do we get any towels?" "Huh, you want towels?" "Yeah, well, there aren't any." "Okay. Are we not supposed to get towels?" "Sure, yeah. Who's in the room?" "Me and my father." The guy opened the cupboard door and gave 2 towels across. "Thanks," said Murdo. Back in the room, the television was on, but he could see Dad had been dozing. Dad yawned, watching him come to the door, carry the towels and toilet rolls across. Murdo laid the food and the drink along the foot of the single bed, and then unlaced his boots. Dad said, "Well done, son." "Oh, the office guy was fine. He just gave me the stuff." "Oh, good. What about the shop? How was the walk? Did you need anything?" "No." Dad yawned. "Did you get the tea bags?" Murdo knelt to retie the bootlaces. "Did you not get any?" "No, but I will now," said Murdo, knotting the laces in his left boot. "Don't bother." "No, Dad, I'll go." "No, you won't." "Dad, you need tea." "I don't." "You do." "I don't." "Dad, you need tea." "Calm down." "But Dad, I don't need tea. We have needs in this life, but tea isn't one of them. I'll survive." Dad lifted the towels and toilet paper and entered the bathroom. Murdo sat a moment and then switched on the television. He watched a while, prepared the food. When Dad came out of the bathroom, he saw it on top of the cupboard. "Good stuff," he said. "Well done." "I'll go for tea in the morning." "Don't worry about it." "No," he said, "I'll go." Last thing that evening, he went for a shave. He hadn't done it for a while. The mirror over the wash basin was more a large flat tile, but it worked all right for looking into. There were these pimples around his chin. When he shaved, the safety razor cut them. It cut off the tops. The risk was more pimples. The blood out of a pimple caused that to happen. It made them spread. You had to be careful if you scratched them. It could leave scars and brought plukes and boils. You were better patting your face dry with a towel instead of wiping it. Mum used to give him a separate towel. It was her told him about patting instead of wiping, because wiping makes pimples spread. His weren't as bad as some, but he didn't have a heavy growth. Some guys did. Dark hair meant you shaved more. If you were black, you wouldn't go red at all. How could you? Then with pimples, probably disguised them. You wouldn't see them as easy if you were black. He could never imagine that girl in the shop having pimples. Girls get pimples, but you don't think of it. Sarah. It was a good name. He liked her, and he could imagine her. She had good lips. People have different lips. He saw his own in the mirror, and what did they look like? Thin lips. A guy he knew played the pipes, and he had thin lips, where you might have expected thick ones, because playing the pipes, it was what you would expect. Some guys were horrible looking, gross, the worst imaginable, yet they had girlfriends, wives and kids, so they got kissed. Gay guys kissed each other. Everybody kisses and gets kissed. When he dried his face, there were spots of blood on the towel. The usual wee cuts round his chin and neck. He splashed on the cold water again, patted his chin dry. Dad had the television on, still, and he looked over. Murdo said, "I was shaving." "Ah." Murdo shrugged. He sat in the bed with his back to the top and watched the television. He was awake early next morning, and he lay on in the bed, but only a minute. Then he was up and the clothes on. Dad was sleeping. Murdo didn't want to waken him. The bus was not until mid-afternoon, so it was okay. Sunday morning, Dad liked long lies. The same when Murdo was alive, the two of them. There were times they didn't show until after 11 o'clock. It made you think of something else. So what, your mum and dad? If it was sex, sex is sex. Murdo slugged milk out the fridge and left it at that. Tea bags and Sunday breakfast. On his way out, he lifted a $10 note from Dad's money, clicked shut the door. With luck he would be there and back before Dad wakened. The same 5 cars were in the car park as last night, but a clear blue sky. Already it was warm, so peaceful. What other day could it be but a Sunday? Is there something beyond enjoyment? This was more than that. No cars hardly at all. He was hearing sounds, but quiet ones, insects and birds. Mum would have loved it. The sensation that he was seeing everything, but nothing was seeing him. The road was here, and him walking it. Nobody else, not Dad, not anybody. He didn't know anybody. He hadn't seen Uncle John and Aunt Maureen since he was a baby. He didn't remember them. Who else? Nobody, except that lassie in the shop. If you could say he knew her. But he did, Sarah, and she knew him. Ha, it was true. She knew he was Scottish, whatever age she was. Maybe older than him, but not much like if she was 17. Another couple of months and him too. And you were a man at 17. People said that. 16 is a boy, 17 a man. Oh, what age are you? 16. Oh, wait till you're 17. Would she be there? Maybe. Although late last night and now this morning, that was long hours to work. A girl like her, who was very, very good looking and just like very, very pretty, she was still a girl working. So if it was long hours, that was the job. Otherwise, get another. You needed money. That was him too. He needed money. He needed to work. So he needed to leave school. Things came back to that. It didn't matter, America, Scotland. He needed to leave school. He turned off the main road, going along the side street, and hearing music. The closer he got, it was accordion, a waltz. Geez, oh. People say about the Reyes playing tricks. With him it was his brains, floating away someplace, thinking about whatever. He couldn't remember. Maybe his sister was there. He never knew until he woke up, although he wasn't sleeping. Murdo in the music, walking in the beat. The beat was him walking in the rhythm, going along the street and nobody else. This waltz playing, a nice one with a real good feel, that proper rhythm there for the dance, relaxed. Yeah, that was the swing, doodle-a-doo, that feeling too. He'd been here already, or was here already, and not talking about last night. He approached the shop. It was open. Nobody at the entrance. But instead of stepping onto the porch, he kept walking, following the music round the side of the building. A few trees were here, scrawny ones. He stayed behind them so they wouldn't see him. An old lady, the accordion player, sitting on a chair wearing a big hat, and a girl out the shop, Sarah from last night, playing washboard, stepping from foot to foot. And another old lady sat next to her, not quite as old, but still quite old. The old lady and the girl, it was great seeing them, something just beautiful about it. Seeing the two of them there in the music, the accordion itself, cream-coloured and as fancy as you ever would see, light glinting in the morning sun, and that brilliant sound. What a sound! That was special. That was so special. And the girl scrubbed it along, facing the old lady who nodded her head on that 2-3 beat rhythm, glancing around at the folk watching, smiling a little but only in the music, like how some musicians did that even when their eyes were shut. This lady, she kept on looking, seeing the people watching, keeping her eye on them. Murdo liked that. This was her playing. She was playing. She had her way, and there she was. Murdo didn't move in case people saw him. He was not hiding, only keeping out of the way. Now the other woman in the porch, she was not as old as the musician, but what age was she? Murdo didn't know. She had a big hat on too, with a fancy sort of gauze stuff trailing down the back. She sat upright with her feet firmly to the floor, moving her right hand to beat time in a sharp movement like cutting or chopping. This was her right hand beating time, but it was the 3 beats and her wrist jerking, flicking, cutting, flicking. She could have been on drums the way she was doing it. This rigour she brought to it, which seemed to set up a response, like you sometimes hear in music, I told you so, I told you so, I told you so. A lot of musicians did that. They played something to you, and you played something to them. Stupid things. You should know better, you should know better. Behave yourself, behave yourself. Don't you start, I told you so. Don't you start, I told you so. No, you didn't, no, you didn't. I told you, I told you. That was the other musicians telling you, giving you a wink and a nod of the head. It was two-way. You were on the melody. Behave yourself. That was the rhythm. The rhythm was telling you, behave yourself. Guys Murdo played with, they did a lot of that for fun. And it was fun. You liked it, and so did the audience. And the dancers danced, and off you go. The dancers danced, and away you go. Tricka, 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 tricka. And the song ended. Murdo wondered what would happen. But nothing did happen. Somebody clapped, and somebody laughed, and the accordion player spoke to people. This was a community place, composed of back gardens running into each other. Some had fences and some didn't. Kids played, whatever. Girls throwing a ball, a couple of boys horsing around, a dozen folk sitting in chairs, dotted about the grass. A few were standing. The accordion player, she spoke a few words to the girl, and then it was 1, 2, and away, straight into another. This was an upbeat number, a real drive and rhythm, but in that same style again. But then it stopped. The old lady broke off out of nothing, and she spoke a few words to the girl, and then played in from a couple of bars before, and stopped again, then restarted, and off they went. They were rehearsing. Of course. This was the real stuff. You knew that just by listening. It was so obvious. This old lady was special. Geez, oh. Murdo was chuckling and felt like laughing. There was a lyric this time. The old lady in vocal driving her on, and geez, she really was something. God, and the way people responded to her. They knew. Murdo couldn't make out the words and then realised why. It was French. She was singing in French, maybe some English. The girl and the lady with the fancy gauze hat were chorusing the line, chorusing. It was a new kind of music for Murdo, and exciting how it rocked along, and that humour and funky, just brilliant for playing and for dancing. The kids were jigging about. Murdo chuckled, and then was startled. A guy was standing next to him, and right there in his face, angry looking, so angry looking, Murdo stepped back. The guy spoke in a low grunting voice. "What you doing here, huh? What you doing here? You shouldn't be here. This ain't your place." It was just, this ain't your place. What are you doing round here? What, you spying on us? The music had stopped. The guy stepped forward and he pointed Murdo out to them, and people were staring. Murdo was embarrassed at being caught, but he was not spying if anybody thought that. Why would he spy? It was the music. He saw the girl at the side and he tried to smile, but he couldn't, but he called her, "I'm not spying." Now she recognised him and she raised her arm. "Hey, I know him. He came in the store last night." "Well, this ain't the store," said the guy. "Oh, he's foreign, Joe. Hear him talk? He's not American." The lady with the fancy gauze hat said, "Oh, the poor fellow. Not American, mon Dieu." "He didn't know about tax," said the girl. Both women laughed. The guy who had caught Murdo was still annoyed, but no longer angry looking. He was older than Murdo, but not that much. Murdo shouldn't have been there at all because it was other people's gardens. He knew that. It was just the music. I heard the music. Murdo said, "I was going to the shop, I heard it, and just I followed it round." The two women found this funny. The accordionist said, "Hey now, children, he's enjoying my music. You think I didn't see him? I saw him from early. He's audience. You think I won't see audience?" "She don't get that much nowadays," said the other lady. The accordionist raised her hand. "I saw him the moment he came in these trees there." She studied Murdo. "You like the music?" "It's great." "Great, huh?" She gazed down. "Yeah." He shrugged. "I play too." She continued to gaze at him. "Oh no," she said, "I know you play. I saw how you were looking. What you play, boy? Cajun? You play Cajun?" "Come up here." Murdo went immediately to the porch. "You Irish?" "No, Scottish." "Scotland," said Sarah. "It's another country," said Murdo. "It's near Ireland, and the music's like not too different. I mean, like," Murdo gestured at the older lady's accordion. "I would play. If you think, if you wanted me to, Murdo stopped, aware of Sarah watching him, and he blushed immediately and tried to stop it but couldn't. Last night she was almost angry. Now she was friends, and really she was beautiful. Her name too, Sarah, an old name. Old names were good. The name Sarah, it was right. As soon as she said it, he knew it was hers. The accordionist made a comment in French to the lady with the fancy hat, and then studied Murdo. And she nodded to Sarah. "Go get him a box, honey, get him the turquoise." Sarah went to the house behind the porch. "So, boy, what's your name?" "Murdo." "Murdo." She grinned, stressing the R. "Well now, Murdo, my name is Miss Monsier. People call me Queen Monsier. Can you say that?" "Queen Monsier." "And this here is Aunt Edna." "Welcome," said the other lady. Queen Monse waved at the guy who had surprised Murdo. He is Joel. He's my grandson. Now Sarah on rugboard, his sister. Sarah is my granddaughter. So now you know us. So how come you are here? Well, I was going to the shop, the store. No, now, boy, I'm talking here, in this place, this town. This is Allentown, huh? How did you come by here? Oh, well, what happened? We missed the bus. Me and my father, we missed the bus. So we're just passing through. Aunt Edna clapped her hands. Now he's got it. Queen Monse chuckled. Sarah returned. She was wearing a hat now, a daft round thing, but it looked good and made you smile to see. She held the accordion out to him. The top she was wearing didn't have sleeves, so her shoulders were bare like last night. Thanks, said Murdo. He took it from her, pulled it on and touched the keys. Queen Monse said, now Murdo, you play how you play. The accordion was tuned to B flat. He hadn't played for a while, and his fingers were not flexing right. A strange sensation too, like the skin on his fingers was too tight or something, and he was wanting to widen the gap between the tips of his fingers and the fingernails. People were watching, but it was okay. They were wanting to play properly, he knew they were, and he wanted them to hear. That was that, and he played a jig he'd learned a few months earlier. He was still with the band at that time, before Mum's health deteriorated. It was fine. He knew it was fine. Some kids were here and he hoped he might dance. They didn't, but it was okay anyway. Aunt Edna applauded. Bravo, monsieur! Queen Monse said, you want to play it again? The same one? The same one. Off he went the second time, and he saw her preparing to play, and then she did. In she came. She played a rhythm almost like straight into him. Brilliant. Murdo played the jig a little differently now. Shifting ground was how he thought of it. But it meant him doing fast steps. Mum had described it as capering. She enjoyed it when he capered. He sometimes did it with the band, jigging about, just depending how it went, and if he was taking the lead. If he was playing a jig, he was doing a jig. That was how he thought of it. It just meant going these fast steps. That was how you were not just playing for the tune, you were in it. He did it here with Queen Monse, and she played it straight back to him. Her name fitted, a real queen, real music, real style. And she played another one of hers, with Sarah now on Le Fouettoir, which was rubboard in French. And it was a fast number, swinging, rocking, just so good. Queen Monse looked for Murdo coming in like she had in the jig, and he was ready for it. She was fast, thinking of somebody old. She said how she was slowing down, not her brains, her fingers, but Murdo didn't think so. My God, arthritis, she said, but that was a joke. She was not slow at all, not lightning fast, but near. She was near to that. Zydeco was the name of the music. Murdo knew nothing about it. He had never ever even heard the name before. He had heard Cajun, but not music so much as a place, like a land or a country, the country of Cajun. But he had never heard the word Zydeco. And Sarah was laughing, and that daft hat she was wearing, it was so, how'd you describe it? Murdo didn't know, except it made you grin. It would have made anybody grin, like a sailor's cap. Back home you saw rich guys in yachts wearing them. Sarah was great, she was fun. A real lassie just laughing. That was her. She was just like special. You knew it, anybody would. The real granddaughter. She was Queen Monse's real granddaughter. She led now on another up-tempo number, a smashing chorus, and Sarah joined in, emphasising the freshness, the Frenchness, and it was sexy how they did it, and it made you laugh. Really good fun. Ooh la la, something, something. Comme ci, comme ça, something, something. I'll just finish now.
Fantastic.
Thanks.
Brilliant, James.
Okay.
Brilliant, brilliant. A short extract there from a superb book, but you're getting some of the elements of it, you know, the relationship with the father. I heard some sympathetic titters from the audience when James mentioned teenage and parent relations. Obviously some experience out there in the audience as well, and the beginnings of new discoveries for Murdo. Also, you've got a couple of examples there of a style that's throughout the book of soliloquies, this explaining his life and his circumstances, but with musical touches there as well, and a real dose of humour which percolates throughout the whole of the book. Just I'm going to go out to the audience in a second, but just one thing, Jim, you spent a fair spell yourself in America. Is that other experiences from your own period here, or perhaps just the musical connections, or
no,
what?
I'm not trusting the mic just now. Is it okay in the back?
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, okay. So obviously there was myself and my own family. We emigrated to the States when I was 17.
Wow.
And which was 1963, and came back a few months later. These experiences, being 17 in the States was difficult for me, having left school at 15, and I was already into an apprenticeship. And to land in the States at 17 and be told you can't work until you're 18, it was a real shock to me. It was not possible to go back to work again. Rather, it was not possible to go to school. That was beyond a nightmare. It was simply impossible.
Yeah, so you were caught really in between.
So I basically spent about 3 or 4 months walking around Los Angeles. I think that was all I did. You know.
Some would say that's not so bad, but I understand.
Well, looking for a job.
Yeah. And the music, I mean, real
music,
Cajun, Zydeco, you know, blues, all coming through there as well.
Yeah, well, I've always been interested. I've always liked the music.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure most people in the audience here in Scotland and also in Ireland, people are very, moved and involved in what we might call very loosely Americana, and all the different forms of music. So these forms of music, they've been around for myself since I was young, really.
And for the participants here, it's a way of life. It's them, as you explained.
Yeah. I think one of the things about the novel in a way is, I think it's also in a sense a kind of portrait of the artist novel. I think Murdo's to me, he's a kind of real artist. He's a serious musician, although he's young, and that does get picked up by other people. Queen Monse, she picks that up about him perhaps through the quality of attention he brings to and focus. And again in the novel, this happens when he gets up to Alabama. Him and his father, the day after. I always thought it had just been outside of Huntsville, Alabama, and that area, which is just, if you think of the map there and the Appalachians and the Blue Mountains up there, so that kind of spine in the East Coast goes right up to Washington, D.C., right down through North Carolina in these places. And there's a very big kind of Scottish tradition there from early times of immigration. Yes. 17th century immigration.
There and down to Texas as
well, they used to talk about down Virginia there.
Yeah.
People from the Hebrides and so on would land there, and they would find some African Americans talking in Gaelic in the docks.
Right, but Murdo has brought his very Scottish father with him, or rather the other way around. And while Murdo is thinking about passion, thinking about the arts, his dad's saying, "How much will you earn for this? Where will you eat? Where will you stay?" And yet he doesn't seem an unsympathetic character, the father. You understand where he's coming from as well as Murdo's artistic passion.
Yeah, no, I think so too. Yeah. I think there can be it would be interesting to compare maybe a teenager or a young person reading the novel with somebody who's the parent of teenagers.
The parent might say, "Quite right, where are you going to spend the night?" type of thing. Yeah. Okay. Let's go out to audience. Let's get some questions from people in the audience, please. The lights come up. See a hand raised there, please. Let's see and there. So let's take lady here first, please. If a microphone can come your way, and then we'll get a mic to our friend there as well, please. Thanks.
Hello, thanks for that. I'm fascinated by how you did any research into exploring this place again. Was it largely based on memory or recent trips, or did you use anything like, say, Google Maps?
Exploring the place in America, the sites in America.
Yeah. How did you, to what extent did you rely upon memory, or did you look at contemporary ways of exploring this place from a distance?
Well, both, in a way, really. Because that particular part of the States, I don't know, really. I mean, the place that I know is California and Texas. And although, in fact, we did go to Louisiana, my wife Marie and myself, to a really great festival there. It's not an area I've driven through and know all inside out or anything. But I mean, when we were young, or when I was young, we came back from, we did Route 66 coming back from Los Angeles. Wonderful. So I've always been kind of interested in the Route 66 road and know that road. So for me, the interest is there. And having driven we did do some driving around in Texas. So the drive between Texas and Louisiana is one that I know that road. But going up the way, I don't know the roads up there, and I worked with the map all the time. The map, where I have the map that takes in the novel the murder refers to. Yeah. There is a scene with him and his new Aunt Maureen, who's in her late 60s, Aunt Maureen, or around 70. And she's doing something like maybe the ironing, and he's just discovered the road map, and he'd be used to working with his phone or his iPhone or whatever. He's not used to this kind of, and he finds it very exciting. You know, it's like maybe 100-page long, the road atlas, you know. So he, and I kind of work from that. I have such an atlas at home.
It's lovely. Murray so much enjoys as he sits every night going through.
Well, he goes through it to find all the Scottish names.
Yeah, finding new.
So he can't believe it.
We had a question here, please. Yeah, and I'm looking for more hands as well. But yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah. I really love this novel, but I've read all the stuff, obviously, and this seems to be doing something very new with the personal and the political. I like the way you said that it's like a portrait of the artist novel, but it's also the portrait of a political growth, of political consciousness, where family, identity, race. At the moment when he thinks about his mother, he also thinks what would it be like to be a gay guy, without ever thinking he would be. It's as if the personal and the political are doing new things in this novel that, say, weren't in How Late It Was, and so on, or the earlier wonderful fiction, or disaffection, even. Something new. Am I right, or do you feel not?
I think it's a good question. Is it a new departure, Jim, to some extent?
No, well, thanks for the comments you made too. This is the second novel I've written based in the States, as you'll be aware. But this novel, although a lot of it is kind of it's not referred to directly, it's almost in parentheses in the novel, are these issues around immigration.
Yes.
And past immigration in the States. And my own family, like many people here, is almost classic in terms of immigration. In both my mother's and my father's side. My father's side especially, from Lewis, and the Western Hebrides, his mother and his father, my grandfather, from that part of Aberdeenshire. Again, where people don't associate with clearances, but those people who know Aberdeenshire around that area, clearances are really very, very much part of that history there. So these areas that I kind of just maybe hint at, I don't know, but I would like to, I hope they are part of a subtext there. But they're older times of immigration.
Even Queen Monzier says she's original French, not Cajun French.
You know,
and she makes the
thing about Queen Monzier, those of you who know anything about this part of the States, they come from West Louisiana, which is just over the border in Mississippi. If you think of there, Lake Charles, big long lake going up from, it's very close to East Texas. Well, obviously, it borders on it. But that part of Louisiana is associated with the Creole people.
Yeah.
The Creole people were also African, but they were part of Louisiana when it was a French colony.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
So before what they call the Louisiana Purchase, which I think was about 1813, that was a deal done. Now the kind of irony, and it's ironic, but what you have there is the migration from the Maritimes in the Atlantic seaboard in Canada, so Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, around that area, where the Cajun people originate from, old Arcadia, which is a mix of Brittany people, Irish and Scottish. That's basically the three. The great Dewey Balfour, the legend in his family, is that the Balfour family, in fact, used to be Balfours. In fact, it was a Scottish originally. Those of you who haven't worked this out, and most people haven't, Monzier, if you think of what that would be in Scottish, it's Menzies. Nobody fucking knows that. So obviously in Glasgow, if it just written down Menzies, somebody would go. Now, I usually write a lot and then take stuff out. Well, there is a section I've taken out of this novel. I should publish it somewhere. But anyway, and it's a play on the name, because, you know, the dad's a bit of a staid Scottish guy. And the girl Sarah, her mum and dad at one time invite them for a meal. In an earlier section, they go for the meal, right? In the novel, they don't, the finished novel, but in an earlier section, they do go. And the dad, the dad, Sarah's dad, Queen Monzie's son-in-law, he's a kind of jazz fanatic, you know. And a lot of jazz fanatics could very well be Scottish. In fact, a lot are Scottish. But they have that same kind of Calvinist approach to music. As a lot. Anyway,
Purist, yeah.
The thing is, Sarah shows Murdo one of Queen Monzie's albums when she was playing regularly, and he sees it and he says, "Guys, that's Menzies." So he says to his dad, "Dad, it's Menzies," and his dad, of course, "Well, no, son, we call it Mingus." But the thing about that is, like, the son Joel, you know, you heard him, there's a kind of angry guy. But Joel, of course, who gets to know Murdo, and he's not that much older than Murdo, and he has quite a big part in the novel, Joel. But he again has a lot of fun poking fun at his father, and that's part of the family stuff. He kind of pokes fun at his dad. So as soon as Murdo's dad says, "No, son, we call it Mingus," Joel goes, "Charlie Mingus." No, so it's like it was Charlie Mingus Scottish, you know. And although, I mean, Charlie Mingus is a great political guy, a great musician, the bass player, but there's another wee side issue further. But I remember I was doing something before, and I was doing something in San Francisco, and I flummoxed the audience by saying to them, "What is it that me and Dizzy Gillespie have in common?" And of course nobody knew. And I said, "Well, what we have in common is that both our grandmothers spoke Gaelic, and neither of us did. Neither of us do." And that is, again, is that sense in which this is an undercurrent, hope in the novel.
Very clearly.
Because that aspect of immigration where the shame of being a Gaelic speaker, that neither my father nor my uncles spoke Gaelic.
Yeah.
My grandmother was of a generation where you didn't it was not something that you gave to your family. Mm-hmm. And my grandmother, her two sisters, my great aunts, they were both, like my great aunt Mary or Margaret, But she was the secretary of the Gaelic Society in Seattle for 30 years.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Who's next with a question, please? See your hand raised there. Is that looking for more as well, please? But we'll take the gentleman there, then away at the back. Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
Thank you. I'd like to ask a wee question about the plotting. You said that you write quite a lot and then you kind of edit. On reading the book, I was actually taken by surprise by the ending, and without giving anything away, without giving anything away, let's say that I'm a bit of a pessimist, and I wondered if you had alternative endings before, but without giving anything away, of course, before you decided on the way to actually end.
No, but yeah,
the piece.
no, it's a good question, right? It's a good question, and endings are really, obviously, really important to myself too. And the way endings work, when I know that they are working, and it happened also in How Late It Was and a couple other novels. The ending, the best kind of ending for me, always takes me by surprise. And it's almost, you put it away and say, I can't believe that.
That can't be right. No.
You know, and you have to go away and reread it, and you kind of tend to read it like,
What?
I can't believe that's working.
Well, you obviously surprised our friend here. He was expecting a different outcome. Let's take one from way.
That's how I know it's working, though. Because the other thing with that, Brian, just to say,
go on, Jim, yeah.
You continually try and do something else with it, and you find you can't.
So you go back to the
So
one
it is that kind of,
the one
yeah.
that shocked you, yeah?
Yeah.
Let's try and get a few more in there, and looking for more hands as well, please. Right at the back, yeah.
Jim, I picked up a while back on the film that Kenny Glennan was making of your screenplay, and it seems to relate directly to this. It seems very similar, and I wondered if you can talk about that, if there is a story behind that.
The first part?
You're reading the interested in the film that derived from your screenplay that was being...
Yeah.
That Kenny Glennan was directing.
Yeah. That's what I'm looking for. I can't see where you're at.
Way at the very back, that's it.
Tam Jim.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the way this novel began, it began from basically a conversation with myself and Kenny. Kenny, who's a fine director, people might know Kenny Glennan's work, but Kenny was wanting to involve me and the two of us in doing a screenplay of the novel of mine, Kieran Smith Boy. And we'd had a couple of discussions about it. And one discussion we had, Kenny just happened to, well, we started off when he arrived, have a coffee or whatever. And Kenny was saying that I'd met an interesting guy in Edinburgh, a musician. And he was telling Kenny that when he was a young fella, around about 14, he'd visited the States for a couple of weeks with his dad. His dad, I think, was evangelical, a pastor with an evangelical church. And he was giving a couple of lectures, or he was preaching a bit down south in the States. And the boy, as I say, was 14, and it was round about that part of Mississippi. And that was when he first heard the blues, you know. That was when he first got in touch with that music. That was the kind of the basic thing. And then I think Kenny and I would be away talking about the potential screenplay of Kieran Smith Boy. But the thing about it was that's about 8 years ago. And it coincided with a period when I think I had just come back from California, myself and Marie there. I'm not quite sure about that. It's about 8 or 9 years ago. And I'd spent about 6 months there up in California. And while I was there, I had finished some work, including the big long essay I did for the short story reissue, An Old Pub Near the Angel, which I wrote these short stories, my first collection, when I was about 21, 22, 23, 24. And while I was doing the introduction, a big long one, I was kind of thinking about a lot of my experiences when I was 17 in Los Angeles, and being in California again, which it was a kind of odd experience because of these associations.
Flashback to something.
So I think between having, that kind of the germ of that, plus the reality of that aspect of my life, and also the knowledge of Texas, I think that's really important, and the music side of it
Always
was
the music, yeah.
I mean, there's a part in the novel that's maybe not as strong a novel as it could be, but there's a part in the novel where the young guy, well, I think it is strong, but he plays in a session up north, up in Alabama, and he plays with people who are, you would associate, people in here, people will have heard of Doc Watson. Doc Watson, kind of a Bill Monroe and Hazel Dickens kind of music. The early brothers used to talk about how their family used to play stuff, but it's that kind of music you would call American folk or American folk, Americana, bluegrass. A lot of Dorothy Parton stuff coming from that. But it's really very powerful stuff. Well, he plays music there, especially coming from, in my thoughts at the time were Doc Watson's Family album and links I was making there between how Doc Watson's father-in-law played fiddle. When you hear the album, it's Doc Watson's father-in-law. Anyway, it struck me that the way he plays fiddle, there was such a Scottish feel to it.
That's amazing.
And if you read, obviously, liner notes, I read a lot of liner notes, so through that you find out Bill Monroe's an old Lewis family. I didn't know his family. And you find out people like Doc Watson's family and so on. You get Scottish connections that they're always kind of interesting to me. But it made me think when I first listened to Doc Watson, and I remember that really quite well, because when I was about 20 or 21, I won an album and a game of cards down in London, and I was playing cards with friends of mine. Some are still friends now, actually, and I'm talking about 1967. And me and another pal of mine, we kind of tried to hold the bank playing at 21 at Pontoon and blackjack. We only called it Pontoon in 1967. But anyway, we were playing Pontoon, and this guy lost, of course, and he owed us a $5. I wonder if he's in the audience just now, you think. Right, Donald, where are you? But anyway, Donald was from Aberdeen. Now, the thing of it is, Donald says, well, I'm afraid, Jimmy, I ain't got the dough. Well, he did have dough, the bugger just wouldn't pay up. But he said, I'll give you this album. And it was that, some of you might know, that's that beautiful Newport album where you hear Doc Watson plays three numbers on it. The Balfour Brothers, Dewey Balfour, it was just called the Balfour Brothers at that stage. This is the 1964 Newport Festival. And there's a few good people on that album. So that was where I first heard Doc Watson. That's like going back to 1967.
You still got the album, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You never got the $5, I take it? No.
I never got the $5
No.
But then if you go on eBay now, the album's probably worth about 100 quid or something.
Precisely, so Donald
But
will be
then
in
the
touch.
$5's probably worth 100
Donald will
quid.
be in touch demanding his thing. Friends, we're going to have to call it a halt there. We can go on forever. But would you give us a couple of seconds? We'll pop next door to the signing tent. I'm sure you all want to buy the novel and get Jim to sign it for you as well. So if you give us the time to get out there, in the meantime, will you join me in giving a very warm vote of thanks to James Kelman? Brilliant stuff. Brilliant.
Thanks.
Absolutely
Thank
brilliant.
you.